At Dot and Company, we believe that all agencies deserve amazing account managers and that all of those account managers deserve to be supported, encouraged, and loved on. That's why we started CAM Community, a membership only for account managers. And inside, you'll gain access to the exact training we use to train our own client facing account managers, but also access to all of our SOPs, processes, and live trainings on a variety of topics. If you're an account manager, this is the place you've been waiting for. Learn more at dotandcompany.co/CAM community.
Like I was so happy for him because he was able to, put the right systems in place, put the right people in the right seat on the bus in order for him just to do the stuff he really loves doing.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot and Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Jason. You've been on my list for a long time to have as a guest, so excited that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Taylor.
Amazing. So, Jason, you obviously coach a lot of different agency owners, but fill us in. How did you land here? How did you get into this position where you're now coaching other agency owners?
So I was an accidental agency owner. One of my best friends when growing up looked like Justin Timberlake. And so I created a fake band, fake website called In Shit, making fun of NSYNC, or it was kind of like a parody. I mean, we even literally went to the extent of creating a fake tour, fake music, everything. It was pretty funny. We were dumb kids not knowing anything. And it was right when everyone needed websites. And so people started saying, hey, can you design me a website? And I kind of fell into it by accident. And so, I started charging $500 websites. I mean, even my first client, I remember them, Seifert and Dykes, they were a law firm, and they go, send me an invoice. I was like, I had to ask my dad. Like, this was before Google. So like, I couldn't Google it. I was like, what is an invoice? And I was like, oh, I mean, like, so if I can make it, and so fast forward 12 years later, we were working with the biggest brands in the world from, LegalZoom, Aflac, AT&T, Coke, you name it. We were doing their websites and marketing for them. And then we were fortunate to sell, and then didn't do anything for a while. And then I got kind of dragged back into it by my old competitors saying, hey, how'd you beat us all the time? How'd you scale so fast? How'd you have all these people? How'd you take time off? Right? That's what everybody wants. So they don't have to do anything like we were discussing before. And so I just started coaching a couple agencies for free. And then my wife was like, why don't you charge for this? This could be your next career because you're driving me crazy. I was like, okay, I'll do that.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And so tell me about what it was like after you sold. You said you didn't really do much for a little bit. What was that experience like?
Man, I thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side, right? I thought, running an agency's tough. It's not all sunshine and rainbows of how these fake gurus are, painting the picture, right? And I had a lot of friends. I had a friend that developed Pardot and sold for like $100 million. And I was like, man, I need to do a SaaS product. And go back maybe 7, 8 years, we were like one of the first to do an email marketing system, e-commerce system, CMS. Like we did this in 2001, but it wasn't SaaS because we had clients kept distracting us. So I always regretted us not putting some time into that. I mean, I don't regret it anymore, but when I was getting ready to sell the agency, I was like, well, maybe I'll do that. I hated it. Like I developed an iPhone app that took pictures of everything you ate. It's called Golvator. I hated it. I was depressed. I went to a Tony Robbins event. I walked on fire, thought it was fake. I left early because I couldn't stand the kumbaya stuff. Like I was just so lost because my identity was tied to being an agency owner. And I felt like I sold my soul. I felt like I sold my baby. But later on, I realized I was like, no, I wasn't an agency owner. I was creative. I was innovative, right? I could help people. And so I was like, oh, that's who I am, not an agency owner.
That's such a good realization because I think all of us think about what if we sold? What would that look like? And everyone tells me that, oh, well, what are you going to do next? Because if you don't have the next plan, then you're going to,
Right.
be depressed, right? And it's like, is it really what's next, or is it finding who you really are and then finding channels to go after that?
Well, it's both of it, right? So, we've also bought, I own another agency as well. And in the past 3 years, we've bought 10 agencies. And a lot of my partners get mad at me when I try to talk people out. I'm like, hey, you're doing over $1 million in profit. You're not doing much in the agency. Why do you want to sell? Is there something next? Like, do you need the money, like for health reasons or whatever it is? Or do you know exactly what you're going to do next? Because if you don't, I can tell you, and especially a lot of the people that we help and we get to a point where they actually have the opportunity to sell, I'm like, once you have all the money, you're just not going to sit there. Like you think you will. You'll sit
Mhm.
there for 2 weeks and you'll enjoy it for the 2 weeks. And then you're bored because everyone else on the planet is working and doing something.
Mhm.
And you need that significance. You need that contribution. You need that community. And that's what I missed. Every bad thing that ever happened to our agency, I remember. I don't remember all the good stuff because I
Right?
enjoy it. We battled with the team.
Mhm. That's so important. I think it's the community too, right? It's even when I was just at your event last month, it's that community that keeps me going. It's the people, it's the energy when you're surrounded by other people who are just like you. And then you go and sell your business and you have nothing. Like, you're not like those people. You're not building that community. And I think that would be a really hard thing. And, when you're on this side of it, you think like, oh, it'd be sweet to just retire and, sail off in my little camper van and travel the world, but it's not for me.
I would love to do the camper van. My wife, I put her in an RV one time and she's like, I never, anything with wheels or moves with the toilet, she won't go in. I'd love
That's
to do it.
funny,
Like I could go live in my Bronco and I'd be good.
right? That's funny. So we talked about how it is hard to run an agency. Like, no doubt, everyone listening knows it's hard. For you, when you were running your agency, what was the hardest part?
Probably stepping out or really, well, honestly, if I can look back, I mean, there's so many different stages and so many things I struggled with. I remember getting to maybe the 2 million mark and literally I wanted to quit. I was so depressed because everything was going through me. It was like I had, 50 or maybe 20 people at that time. We eventually got over 100, but we had 20 people and every decision was going through me. So it was like having 20 toll booth lanes, but no one was going to anybody else. They were all going to me.
Mhm.
And I remember my wife going, she's like, well, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just shut it down, go get a job? And I literally took a job interview thinking about just shutting it down.
Whoa.
This was with NASCAR. And they asked me two questions, and it changed everything for me. And I think maybe it can change a couple people listening to this. They said, what do you love doing every day and what don't you never want to do ever again? I couldn't answer it then. I was like, everything. I hate everything. Right? Because like when one bad thing happens and it piles on, it's just like all the weight is on your shoulders and you feel like you can't breathe, like an elephant sitting on your chest, and you're just looking for any way out. And so I went home that night. I did horrible in the interview because I was like, I don't know. And they're like, you ran a business, like you ran a multi-million-dollar business. You can't. I was like, I don't know. It was just designed because I shouldn't have been there, but I was glad I was because I went home and what I did is I took a sheet of paper and I put I drew a circle about the size of my fist. And this is an exercise you can do and spend about maybe 30 minutes outside the circle, writing everything you don't ever want to do ever again. Client management, project management, selling clients, marketing, whatever it is, coding, whatever, all the shit that you're doing right now. Then after you do that, go, what are the things I really love doing? Right. So I started writing down, I love coaching my team. I love doing the first meeting with a client and the strategy. Like, what was the things that get me energy? And then I was like, crap, man, I could do this. And so when I started focusing on this, I was like, who do I need to hire? What do I need to get rid of? What technologies do we need to implement or create or develop, to do this? And then what can I actually say no to? And you know what? The agency started scaling very, very quickly after that. And I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I really, loved doing it. Not, there were still challenges. Like there's always, you're either going into the storm or you're in the storm. Like
Right.
there's two scenarios. It's like, enjoy
Yeah.
it now, but you're about to get rained on. And I heard a cool analogy. Um, it was, I think it's the water buffalo in South Africa. I don't know. You South Africans, you can fact check me and then say I'm wrong. But I know there's one animal, um, water buffalo, let's just say it's a water buffalo. When a storm's coming, it runs into the storm. Now, a cow, like an American cow, when a storm's coming, they're dumb, they run away from the storm. So who do you think gets through the storm quicker?
Mm. Big
Right?
elephant. Is that what it's called?
Exactly.
Buffalo?
Well, the water bison that's running through the
Yes,
storm,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Because the
Yeah.
storm's coming to you. If you run through it, you're going to hit it on your terms. You're
Hmm.
going to go through it quicker. And so that's how I always looked at, running the agency is like, all right, when I see the storm coming, let's start running.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that analogy. It's like there's even on the good days, it's like, well, it's coming. So you might as well prepare for it, right? Like
Exactly.
it is coming and it's true. So you now coach other agencies and prepare them for that storm that's coming. What are some of the things that agencies come to you? Like, what are some of the problems that agencies are facing when they're coming to you for help?
There's a number of different ones, right? So you got to kind of look at it like our methodology is around attract, convert, and scale. And you have to kind of look at where are you struggling at the core? And a lot of agencies are struggling because they were accidental and they never had that clarity in order to figure out where do they need to go. So it could be anywhere from they don't have the authority in their space. They built their business to 2 million off referrals, but they
Mhm.
don't have, the three channels that I truly believe that you need in order to really get to the next level, an inbound, outbound, and strategic partnership channel, right? In order to build that. Or it could be around convert, right? Let's say they have a niche and they have the authority, people are coming to them, but they're converting at a low percentage. And the owner is doing the sales, right? Well, we need to work there. Or maybe we're looking at they're not really scaling and growing their current accounts. I always tell everybody, ask yourself this question. And this will tell you where you need to work because you know all the skeletons in your closet. If you were going to buy your agency from yourself, what would you change tomorrow?
Mm. And
Right?
we
When
all know what
people,
it is.
hell yeah, they know
Yeah.
what it is. And when people want to sell, because there's a lot of people trying to do the bullshit roll up strategy. And, you know, it does work, but a lot of people have no clue of how to do it. And like someone, Jane Doe, will come up and to you, Taylor, and say, I want to buy your company. And you get all excited. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be a millionaire. Millionaire is nothing. Like that's not going to get, especially how young you are, that's not going to get you the rest of your life. You're going to have to do something. Unless you do live in a van down by the river, right? Then maybe you'd be able to do it. But you need to think along those lines and start making and seeking out help for that regardless. And honestly too, I don't think the help is in a coach. Honestly, um coaches will give you everything that they have within 2 months and then they try to hold on to you forever, which I think that's bullshit. That's kind of why I don't coach anybody anymore. I like to create a community and put the amazing people together and then have them go, oh, I'm going through that right now, or I went through that last week. Here's what I did. And here
Mhm.
you can actually do it. I always find that's kind of the best way in order to scale your company. And then you feel like you're a part of something, because I know I felt like I was on a freaking island all the time. And then I couldn't go to my team going, I don't know, man, this is a scary, like, and then they were looking at you like, dude, the captain doesn't know where the ship's going, doesn't know
Exactly.
how to steer the ship. And then they start leaving, and then you're like, oh, I have to really do everything.
Hmm. Yep. It is lonely. And that's something that I've been really hearing over the last, even just 6 months. Everyone's just feeling like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just alone. And honestly, I know I said it before, but going to your event and meeting other business owners, agency owners, people who are doing this thing, we all have the same issues. We all have the same fears and things happening that we're all working through. And it's so wild, like the small agencies to the big agencies, it's all the same stuff. But like you said, you can't just go to your team and complain about stuff or work through things, because then they get scared and run away. So it's so important to have a community like what you've built to just have people to bounce ideas off of and not feel alone.
Yeah. Well, you have to think about any business owner. What do they want? Why did you start the business? It's not to grow your business. Who cares
No.
about growing your business? That's
Mhm.
a means to where you want to go. But what are the three things you want? You want more money. Okay. That's one. That's probably the least one, because
Mhm.
that allows you to get more time, right? Because you can hire the right people to do the stuff, which if you have more time, what does that do? That gives you more freedom. So you can pick and choose to do what you really want to do and love. Like, I was so excited last week. I had a mastermind member hit me up, and he was sending me all kinds of pictures from Spain. Him and his family were in Spain for a month. He was like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without the community. Like, I was so happy for him because he was able to, put the right systems in place, put the right people in the right seat on the bus in order for him just to do the stuff he really loves doing. That's how you need to look at your business, of going, how do I replace myself? How do I get rid of one thing every month that I'm currently doing now?
Mhm. I feel like that's what everyone tells us to do. But when we actually get to that point, and because I can tell you that's where I'm at, I'm not really involved in my day to day. But I also find I go through this feeling of not having a purpose and wanting to jump back into things or wanting to get back into control things. Is that just me or is that other agency owners too?
No. So you remember when, if you go back to the story about when I did the circle exercise, right? And 4 or 5 roles that I realized that I needed to do were this. And then I'll tell you how I felt when I actually achieved them. So I was like, I need to set the vision of the agency. No one else can do that. I need to communicate that to the team so they can actually make decisions without coming to me, right? Number two, I needed to be the face of the organization. And I don't believe everyone has to be the face of the organization, but I did. I had to build the strategic relationships, and I had to coach and mentor my leadership team, and I had to understand the KPIs. Now, when I achieved these, I was completely and utterly depressed because the agency didn't need me for what it used to need me for. And I would go into a meeting, like a sales meeting, they'd be like, oh, I'm like, hey, you need help? No, we're good. Go into a creative meeting. Nope, we're good. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, no, like the agency doesn't need me anymore. And so I lost that significance that I felt. But then I was like, no, I've transformed from an owner to a CEO. And once I realized that, I was like, well, there are things that only I can do that no one else can do. And that's what I need to do. And when I realized that, I wasn't depressed anymore. And I had that significance, and I had that plan. Like, whenever there's a trigger, I remember Tony Robbins saying, like, when you're overwhelmed, that means you're giving too much priority to too many things. The same thing is when you get depressed or you're struggling in your agency, if you can figure out, and you know this, and you're like, oh, I'm worried, what's going on? I really don't have a plan. Just start putting together a plan. I don't care what kind of plan it is. If you have a plan, it's going to give you confidence. If you get a little confidence, you're going to get a little more confidence, and you can change that plan and you can modify it, and then you can go and you can constantly keep growing. But just remember that kind of trigger would be like hopelessness. And then you're like, I got to put a plan together.
Mhm. I work the exact same. I get super overwhelmed, too many things. I just got to put brain on paper and just start making the to-do list, right? And I think every account manager is probably like that because we love a to-do list, but every agency owner should definitely be like that because
Exactly.
there's so many things that we could be doing. Um, so talk to me a little bit about client management. So obviously this podcast is Happy Clients. When you're helping agencies take it to the next level, most agency owners are stuck in that client seat, which is a problem.
Yeah.
So how do you work through that with agency owners?
Well, they're kind of weighing the long term or the short term, and they're giving more priority to the short term, right? And so they're kind of going, well, I need to do the client management. No one else can do this. But if they actually start looking at it, they can actually systemize this and you can really put it together. I used to think when we design websites, I'm like, no one can design a website better than me. No one. And then once I started kind of documenting my process for extracting out the information that that client wouldn't tell you otherwise, then there's I mean, my designers I had were amazing. Like, like I have some of the artwork still hanging up on my wall from them, not from the projects that we did, but just that's how creative and amazing that they were. But I just needed to give them that process. And once you start doing that, like there's amazing feeling when you have your team bring in a client you didn't have to chat with. And then your team actually delivers amazing results that you didn't have to do anything for. Like that's freedom. That's why you created the company. And so you need to realize that and make that decision. It's kind of like, I'm trying to lose weight, but I eat that cookie. Well, you're making a short-term decision and it's going to affect you long-term because you're going to be, you're going to be chunky monkey because you ate that cookie, right? Or have the love handles or whatever it is, which I always struggle with. I eat the cookie. So I'm a hypocrite when it comes to eating, but when it comes to business, I can make those decisions easier because I'm like, I'm going to make this decision for next quarter, next
Right.
year. I'm going to plant the seed. It's kind of like a bamboo tree. Bamboo tree, you have to water every single day for 5 years and you don't see it grow. And then year 5, it shoots up like 100 feet within like 3 weeks or something.
That's
like your
wild.
business, right? You got to
Yes.
water it every day. You don't water it every day, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that. And you got to constantly go, why am I watering this tree? Well, in 5 years, it's going to grow really big. And then it's going to
Right.
block my shitty neighbor's house. And I don't want to look at it.
That's so true. I think in our industry, especially, we're inundated by all these gurus and grow a quick agency to 100K in 6 months and all this stuff. The short term
Yeah.
gain is almost ingrained in our industry. And there's not many people who are teaching people how to play that long game. And you're right. If you can get yourself into a position where your team is bringing in clients and serving those clients without you, and your clients don't even know who you are, that's such a great feeling. It's like that is the goal. But I think so many people get scared once they get to that point where they can do that. They get scared, right? They're like, oh, but I want to control this. I want to make sure that it's done perfect. And it stops so many agencies from growing.
Here's the deal too. You met Audra at the Elevate event. She's amazing. This is more on the sales, but this could be related to account management as well. We pushed her hard in the mastermind to get rid of her doing sales. And so she was able to get rid of doing sales within 3 months. Someone was doing an amazing job for her. Now, she felt depressed because she loved the sales. But we started diving deeper into it and we're like, what do you love about the sales? She's like, I love the close. Like, okay, cool. We'll get back into it. But here you have the systems, you have the people in place where you can pick and choose. It goes back to that circle. Do what you love. So, like, I want everyone to have the ability to remove all the roles from you outside the CEO role. But if you still like, I love the first creative meeting, I led every one of them. Did I have to? No, but I wanted to.
Mm.
And that's where I want everyone to get to. You don't have to say, I'm going to get rid of everything, because there's some things that you love doing. Like if you love the clothes, like Audra, by God, do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then now she just does the clothes for the big accounts, right? She just
Right.
comes in, the CEO walks in, all the authority, and, you know, put the hammer down, right? And she loves that. But does she have to do it? She doesn't have to do it. And that's why we do what we do. Is I just wanted to create a resource I wish I had, because if someone told me that a long time ago, I was like, oh man, we could have been a lot further along. I could have got through some of the pains. I would have still gone through pains, but not as long or not as
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Yeah, that is key. And I think, the first agency is the learning curve, right? But if you could get some help on that learning curve so it's not as steep or it's not as long, then you're winning, right? And I think we also have to think of growing an agency as there's an element of just like learning yourself. Like you're building your own resume. And by going through this, you're failing, succeeding, meeting people, building your confidence, all in the same business. And if you can leverage people who are 2 steps ahead of you, well, they're going to pull you up that mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about how we can get involved in your mastermind for agency owners listening.
Well, the biggest thing is, check out a couple of our podcasts and the Smart Agency Masterclass or some of our YouTube videos. And if you like that and kind of the vibe, then reach out to us and we'll spend about 45 minutes on a clarity call. And we're not focused on us. We want to focus on learning where your business is at, where you want to go, and what your biggest challenge is. And then we can figure out a plan for you. And this is free. We want to help you out. And then if the solution is that we can help you out and the mastermind is right for you and we like you, then we can chat about that. But if you go to agencymastery360.com, just click on the scale button, give us 45 minutes and we'll go through and we'll guide you in the right direction, regardless if it's us or someone else. A lot of times, like we'll tell our mastermind members or people to be like, hey, you're not ready for us. You need to get rid of account management, go to Dot and Go, and then come back and then you're ready for us. So
Yes. Yes. And I will echo that you guys do probably one of the best jobs I've ever seen of cultivating a group of very similar people. And I know that you guys are really picky when it comes to letting people in, and you actually stay true to that, which is so important. And a lot of people aren't doing that in our industry. So I love the community you guys have built.
well, good. I appreciate you saying that. And that's what we do, right? And we'll even go to our mastermind members if, some mastermind members will not attend or they'll start missing meetings. We'll reach out and be like, hey, do you want us to cancel the membership because you're not showing up? You're not living up to your commitment to yourself or the other mastermind members, right? Because we're only as strong as the people we put in our circles. And we want to put amazing people in those circles. And it's just a lot more fun. It's like I can hike the mountain I'm looking at right now and just be at the top. I'm only going to stay there for 10 minutes because I'm by myself. It's boring as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can bring a bunch of cool people, we're going to sit up there and drink and hang out and talk for hours and hours. And it's going to be a lot more rewarding. And it's not all about the top. It's about the hike up and watching people struggle. We used to every year we have what we call our agency experience. And I used to have it at my house and we would hike the mountain and it was kind of fun. Like people coming from sea level to 8,000 feet. And then you're climbing up another 1,000 feet and they were dying. And like, I'd be pushing people up, literally pushing people up. Like I can hike it in like 20 minutes, but some people were like an hour and a half. So it was just so much fun doing it with a group of people. So
That's so cool. Well, hopefully I'll make it over to your place sometime and I'll give that mountain a go. We'll have to start
yeah, you
training.
got to beat the hour and a half. That's the
Yeah,
slowest
honestly.
time.
Well, thanks,
Duncan
Jason.
and Duncan, he started working out for the next year and he got up at like 40 minutes. So he did so much better.
There you go.
And
Right?
he was the one that went to Spain too.
Oh, he's an implementer.
Yes, I love the people that execute.
Yeah, yeah. Love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Jason. This was Super good. And I think just a great reminder that you don't have to go alone, and we're all going through the same kind of problem. So find a community who can help you level up.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Taylor.
Cheers to happy clients.